Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. And many of my audience will know that I've been following Argenta Silver due to the great project that they have with very high grade silver. And it's a silver only project, which is very hard to find. And I'm happy to have Joaquin Marias on today. Joaquin, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Alan. I'm very happy to be here. Well, I'm very excited to be here on my first interview with you.
Thank you. Well, um, I guess I could start with what really caught my attention. I had originally heard about Argenta from the fact that Frank Juster was involved, and I had heard that he was brewing up a silver only story, and so I started following the company upon listing not too long ago. And since then, you guys have had some just fantastic drill results. And I live in Mexico, so I know a lot about epithermal vein systems, and I know how important those results are. It's quite incredible what you've found. So that's where I'm coming from, Joaquin.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that this is a beauty of a project. It's a project that has a very interesting story behind of, lots of abandonment in between. And it's a project that most of the people probably doesn't know about the project because the project hasn't been promoted in the past as it should be. But this is a very important project. It's located in the north of Argentina, in the province of Salta, as you know, Alan.
Yeah.
The project it's been studied by different scientists, and the government has also been classifying the project as a geopolitical important thing for the province. And the amount of silver in the project is fantastic. So it's a pure silver play, which is very rare in the world, as you mentioned. And you were mentioning as well epithermal veins. This is a high sulfidation deposit.
Okay.
And the interesting part of this is that it's pure silver. It's high grade silver. The best of the news story is that it's catching the attention of a very, very renowned people in the market, as Frank Justra, Eduardo Elstein, who is a very big investor from Argentina, very big institutions around the world, and a lot of investors around the world that want to know more about this project because, as I said, it's been dormant. Now we are bringing it back to life. And the company, it's going to be only 1 year. Our birthday is next week. In 1 week, we will have 1 year in the market. So this
Well,
is
happy
fantastic.
birthday. Feliz
Thank you.
cumpleaños, amigo.
Sí, gracias.
Um, so I love these projects that have an interesting genesis story, if you will. I know that there had been past work, significant amount of past work done on the project. And I know the vagaries of the cycles in silver prices. And how did you come about getting this project, Joaquin? Tell us a little bit about you and your past and how you got involved with this El Quevar project.
Well, I am from Argentina, Alan, and I was born in Argentina. I did my career, my studies in Argentina as geologist. On my last days of university, I went to the project on a summer intern. And at that moment, I didn't realize that it was going to be the biggest thing that I would see in my life, right? I cruised all over the place, they were bringing me from one of these erosional windows to the other erosional windows. And they are so big, hours moving around in between one and the other. The alteration was huge. And I was like, okay, it's a big project, but then I got my degree. I started working in different places. I went to different parts of the world. And I was always remembering, hey, El Quevar, it's really, really big. It's much bigger than these things that I am looking now. So I start to follow the story of El Quevar on a month by month basis. And for the last 4 years, I have been working here in Canada on the Fiore Group with Frank Justra and the team. And we have been looking for different opportunities around the world, always gold and copper and gold and copper. And in a conversation with Frank, he's telling me, is there any silver project that you know? And I go, yes, I know one that it's very big and that will catch your attention for sure. You need to see this. We had a conversation about it, and it was almost instant, I would say, when Frank recognized that this was a very important opportunity. The project was in hands of a previous operator, which is called Golden Minerals, and by 2024, they were not having a very good financial health. They were starting to have some issues, and they appear to be in distress. And that's something that the Fiore Group is really good at doing, at grabbing things that are in distress and moving them forward to other levels. So we jump on a very, very detailed due diligence, and we start preparing everything. But in 60 days from recognizing the opportunity to getting back into the TSX, we did all what we had to do. Just 60 days, that's what it took to us, very, very quickly. We started the 28th of October of last year with the project on our hands. That's why now we are going to be 1 year old. During this year, it's been fantastic because it's like reawakening a giant that it's dormant. It's a reconditioning road camp, bringing a lot of people, bringing a lot of life to the place. The camp is huge. It's a 100 people camp. It's not a little tents. These are real modules. We call them modules with a concrete foundation. And in this camp, there was only 2 to 3 people living there, like caretakers, time to time, with a little light outside. Now you go there, and this is a vibrant place full of people. Now we have 2 drilling crews, a lot of cookers, a lot of maintenance staff, all the geos, and the medical area that we have there to assist in case of first aid. So even rebuilt actually a little soccer
Oh,
field at that
wow.
altitude. So now it's a vibrant place again, and this project has been fantastic. We have
So,
been
Joaquin, who had built all that, and why did they build such, like they built out a really serious camp there? What was going on?
yes. What was going on? That's a great question, Alan. So the camp was built and the project mostly, but was developed by Golden Minerals, and that we have to give credit to them for all their work and how they move things forward. So they started exploring in 2008 until 2013. So it was only 5 years of very intense exploration work, where they drilled most of the drill holes in the
That
project.
was during the last big cycle for silver and all metals during the 2001 to 2011. So I guess they ran out of steam, as we say.
That's totally correct. In between 2011 and 2013, they start actually 2011 and 2012, they start losing power because, first of all, the general market situation was not the best. And on the other side, Argentina was going down very, very quickly. And there was something else that sometimes people can't really measure the dimension. It's that they embarked themselves on building a decline ramp to start getting themselves into their resource. This decline ramp, it's a 1.2 kilometer decline ramp, and they start building the ramp with mining characteristics. So it was extremely expensive. They had to do a lot of work on the surface to do that. They imagine you embark on something that is extremely costly, and suddenly the market goes down, the country starts going down. Uh, Everything was wrong for them, and they had to stop. But they stopped on a sharp manner, leaving the deposit completely open at depth.
So was the idea of building that ramp to get in there and start doing some bulk sampling, or why did they go with a production ramp?
Well, they saw they saw this coming, and that's something that I don't give them credit. I think that that was probably a big mistake. They thought that the mineralization was continuing on trend, which now we have proved that it continues. It continues on trend, and their thinking, which is correct, was okay. Let's start building the mine while we drill and
Oh
bring
gosh.
more ounces. And that's we believe that that was kind of a mistake. That should have probably been the step two. Step one, find the resource, find the ounces that you need. Step two, start building the decline. That decline faced a lot of issues because it was not very well planned. There were many things that were not correctly done at that moment. And I think that that ended up being the fate of the company, of the previous company, that at some point they had to leave. They left only some caretakers. They did some more work in 2018. In 2020, they did an agreement with Barrick. So Barrick was going to drill 5 drill holes in the property, and then they were going to leave. It was a very strange agreement, but the thing is that 2020 was not a great year for anybody, and not for Varek as well. So they had to leave the project, and they couldn't come back to the project until 2022. So Varek came in 2022. They drilled some drill holes. They had no interest in the project anymore. The management at that moment had changed, and that's how they gave back the project to Golden Minerals. And Golden Minerals in 2024 was like, okay, this is it. Very bad financial health. And I saw that opportunity. That's why I brought this to Frank's attention. And Frank instantly recognized the opportunity. Allan, this project has 50 million ounces combined in between indicated and inferred. From the 50 million, 45 are indicated at a
Wow.
grade, at a grade of 482 grams per ton of silver, pure silver. This is not silver equivalent. There is no lead, no zinc, no copper, and no gold. So it's making the metallurgy as well much more easier. And the fact that we don't see those elements is telling us as well that there is an evolution on the fluids. So silver is somewhere, and on surface we have identified that gold is somewhere else, and there is a transition in between them. So we can
Like
see,
zonation.
yes, the zonation. This zonation is telling us the size of the thing, and this zonation it's across maybe 2 to 3 kilometers on surface. So this system is huge. This is one of the biggest volcanic complexes
Well,
in.
that's not a promoter talk. I've looked at the map, the project on Google Earth, and folks, this is a huge alteration system. I'm wondering about the metallurgical work. Have you done, because it's high sulfidation, uh,
Yes, yes,
what's the
it's very good.
relationship between the silver and the sulfides?
So the silver it's in sulfides and sulfosalts. So it's a high sulfidation epithermal system that it's mostly enriched in silver, where you have very little contents of lead and zinc. But when I'm talking about very little, it's below 1%. So it's almost none. Economically, we cannot count on lead and zinc, and we cannot count economically even on copper. So these sulfosalts and the sulfides, where the silver is allocated on this super rich high sulfidation system, uh, they are most of the mineralization. So only 10% of the mineralization is oxidized, and 90% is sulfides.
Okay.
So metallurgy has been done in between 2008 and 2012, which was done by Golden Minerals. We haven't done our own metallurgy. So if you start to think about, well, it's almost 2026,
Yeah.
and there's no new metallurgy, and there are a lot of things that have changed. The proposed or the best metallurgical test for this deposit, as the previous studies are indicating seems to be flotation. And flotation has seen recoveries of up to 93%
Oh, wow.
on the flotation processes. And the average that we have seen on those different studies, it's around 90. So it's 89, 91, 92, 93, 89 again. So it's around the 90%. There are some elements that people, will say, oh, these are the deleterious elements, and those are super nasty. Okay, fantastic. Yes, we have arsenic, we have antimony, we have bismuth, but I have a question. So what happens if we don't have them? Then there is no silver, because you know very well, Alan, that
Yeah,
sulfur salts are made in between sulfur and one of those, arsenic or antimony.
right.
Most of sulfides, they will have some content of arsenic and antimony. The question is how much of those you have. So the levels that we have in 2012, 14 years ago, it seems that at that time they could incur, that's what the report says, they could incur in penalties.
Right.
Today, we have no idea because the technology has changed. There are different reagents, there are different hydrometallurgical things that you could apply. So on the flotation side of things, we need to do our own studies to identify if we are going to incur on penalties or not for those levels of arsenic and antimony. But so far, all of our advisors, all the people that we have consulted and that we have been advised from, they are telling us, guys, this is fantastic. Just keep going because there is nothing alarming, nothing to be concerned. Your levels of arsenic, antimony, and bismuth are normal in most of the cases. And there is something else that sometimes people don't think about, that the deposit is not like a white wall. The deposit is like a paint, like a crazy paint.
Yeah.
You have different colors all over the way. This is the same in the deposit. You will have different mineralogies. You will have different concentrations of silver or other elements, and you will have also different concentrations of arsenic, antimony, and bismuth. So in those different places, you will have places that will be higher and lower concentration of different things. And that's the beauty of mining, that when you understand what's the distribution, you can split pieces and then you can blend. You can blend the ones that have high concentration with
Yeah,
low
yeah.
concentration. That's how
Right.
you get to the right grade of silver to get into the plant, or you got the right amount of deleterious elements so you don't pay penalties. So there is a lot of blending that can be done afterwards, and that it's not being considered in most of the cases. We are now starting to think about doing studies in the future, in the near future, because we need to start having some ideas. But after all this explanation, our goal, our goal is to find 250 million ounces. So we cannot allow to think that the future of our project will be dictated only for the 50 million ounces that we have today, when we are thinking to find 200 million more. Probably the other 200 million are the ones that will dictate what is the metallurgy.
Got
So
it.
far, we understand that it's going to be flotation with this 50. We need to understand what it's going to be with the other ones. Maybe the other ones that
Right.
we find out, they are telling us, hey, you should do a doré, or you should do something else. Maybe we find gold on the way, and with gold in between, we can do a doré instead of flotation. There are many things that we don't know yet. This is a project that it's in great condition to keep exploring, to keep drilling, and there are many unknowns that we have to answer, right?
Well, is it ever? I mean, I looked at the zone in the resource and where you guys it's kind of difficult, people, when you're looking at a cross section or a long section to understand how that is relationship in three dimensions. I've done this enough times. I come from when we used to do plastic models of zones and put sections in these boxes, And so I can visualize it. And what I see is you guys are stepping out, and man, the grade just goes off the charts.
Yes, yes, yes. That's fantastic. We have not only, as you said, we have not only step out on the down plunge because the deposit goes down plunge, but we have also step out on the sides of the deposit. And we summarize this explanation with two phrases. Phrase one is we are filling the gaps. So we have seen that in between the deposit there are some gaps where we can just drill on those gaps. And when we drill on those gaps, we have drilled some of them, we have found mineralization. So that's on that matter, we are understanding that these gaps are drilling gaps. The mineralization is there. We need to drill those
It's
gaps.
not a gap in the zone, it's a gap in the drilling. Got
The
it.
drill. Exactly. And the second phrase is, well, we have to work on the trend of the mineralization. So not
Right.
only filling those gaps, but working on the trend. And on the trend, we drill a step out of 70 meters away from an area that it's an infill area, that it's an area that it's
I
not
saw, by
completely.
the way, I saw that, and folks, you can see where it was drilled quite extensively in the resource, and then you can see where the drill holes they peter out. There's no more. And they went out there and they stepped out 70 meters and what 545 grams of gold over or silver over 43 meters. And included in that was 1,300 grams. Now, I come from Mexico where I look at a lot of, we see grades like this, but usually you're talking 1 to 7 meters. And even in that kind of an environment, they're money making machines. Silvercrest, Mag Silver, they've had phenomenal success mining these narrow, high grade veins. You don't generally see them blowing out to 43 meters of 545 grams of
No,
silver.
no, it's very abnormal, and that's something that we always comment that people is coming to us and telling us what it's similar. How can I compare this product to the other? And it's hard. It's hard because, as I said, not let's think of a paint. Not every paint is similar.
Right.
And nature, it's an artist. Nature likes to paint. So not two deposits will be exactly the same. They might have the same colors, but you cannot, in most of the cases, compare one to the other.
No.
And, and I think that El Kibar has the beauty that it hasn't been conclusively defined. It's still open all the way, and that's only the place where the previous explorer did their work because they put maybe 80% of their capital allocation right in there.
Right.
And they never were extremely aggressive outside of the resource. And that's what we are going to do now, Alan. What we are going to do, our capital allocation, it's going to be 40% on resource expansion, 60% exploring all the other areas. So that's how we are going to split our capital allocation. This is going to allow us to start growing the resource with very low risk, and 40% of the allocation will go there, and the other 60% of the allocation will go to something much riskier, but as well much more rewarding because what happens if we find something else out there, right? And we are
And
starting to see
folks,
evidence.
it's important to stress that in these they come in clusters, these epithermal vein systems. And as Joaquin was describing there, because this company was so focused on what they were defining of a 50 some million ounce resource, they were kind of narrowly focused. They weren't looking at the entire picture. And the amount of alteration. So alteration, folks, is when the fluids that carry the silver or gold up towards the silver or towards the surface and they interact with the country rock, they chemically alter that. And what we say in the business is that big deposits tend to leave big footprints. And that's what an alteration zone is a big footprint. But they've only been maybe looking at one shoelace of the entire shoe, if you will. Uh,
Yes.
sorry for that
Before,
interlude there, Joaquin.
no, no, but that's perfect. Before starting the interview, Alan was telling me, we were talking about how difficult this industry is and how some projects are more difficult than the others. And he was telling me, and the worst is that we need to find the deposit by looking through the core. And actually, that's what you're telling of the shoelace. I always say that you never know if you are hitting with your drill hole the tail of the elephant or the trunk or the leg. You never know. So it can be a very small elephant or it can be a very big elephant, but it depends what you are hitting with your drilling. That's why you need to drill a lot to find good deposits, and that requires a lot of financing. That's why exploration companies are companies that consume a lot of capital, and that capital has to go to the ground. If the capital is not going to the ground, I'm sorry to tell you, the company is not doing the right work.
Yeah,
My guidance as a CEO of Argenta Silver is that we cannot do anything with any dollar if that dollar is not bringing value. So we only spend money when that money it's having a return. So we take care a lot of the return on investment. That's how we have been cruising all this year since last October until this October. It's been 1 year of work, and we have only spent 6.5, almost $7 million Canadian money on doing all what we have been doing. So let's call it $7 million Canadian on drilling 4,240 meters, uh, collecting over 5,000 surface samples, doing a lot of soil, building some roads, reconditioning the camp. We did a lot of alteration studies, 3D modeling for the first time in the history of the project. So we are trying to put as much money as we can into the ground, but taking care of every dollar that we bring into the company. So I think that that's something great to note, Alan, and maybe you have seen along your career many wastes and many great
a
expenditures.
few times. That's maybe why I see have so much gray hair now, Joaquin.
Yes.
I used to be like you when I first got in the business, no gray hairs.
You're still handsome. You're still handsome.
Ah, thank you. Gracias, gracias. Um, well, it's a very special project, folks, and I really look at it like they're just in the early days. I mean, 50 some million ounces is kind of halfway to a rule of thumb that you look for in silver projects, which is you want to find about a resource of 100 million ounces. Roughly that would give you about 10 years worth of production at 10 million ounces a year kind of thing. It's just a rule of thumb. But I see no problem getting over that threshold and well beyond that. You might get over that threshold just in the one vein that you're already extending on. And that also brings up a question to me. As you're getting following this a long strike and down dip or plunge, I'm seeing that the grade and the thickness is picking up. Do you
Yes.
think that you might be getting closer to the heat engine that caused this mineralization to make it where it is now?
Well, we are doing all our studies. We have done something very particular. What you are pointing out, it's something that I have to say that it's very intelligent to think about. Very few people has recognized about that, Alan. And actually, we did an alteration study on historical drilling. So
Okay,
we relogged around 30,000 meters from the 100,000 meters in the property, but 30,000 meters of relog of historical core that represents probably 40 to 50% of the drilling in the resource.
okay,
On that relog, we did alteration studies, and those alteration studies, they are very complex, and they are measuring the thermometry of some minerals,
Okay.
and that is telling us where the heat source is coming. You are completely right.
I'm
That's
getting
really,
goosebumps while you're explaining this. Well, folks,
yeah.
this is the science that it's like thinking of a thermometer, okay? And what you're studying is the temperature change as you're distal from a where it came from, and as you vector into where it came from. And that's why I'm getting some goosebumps when you're talking about doing that kind. It may not pay, maybe others may not pay attention to it, but I pay a lot of attention to that kind of
Oh,
scientific.
yes, yes. We do that because, and this is something as well that we have to remember, there's science behind this. This is
Absolutely.
not just drilling. As I always say, to put a drill hole, it's very easy. I point in the map and we go and just drill. The question is to put a drill hole that has chances to hit mineralization. That's the very difficult thing, and that's completely different than just putting a drill hole.
Yep.
Anybody can put a drill hole, but to put a drill hole well planned and well calibrated and everything, that requires a lot of science behind. And
Absolutely.
that is what we are doing. We have top class people in our team. Guillermo Peralta is our chief geologist. He's top class, world class geologist. The other geos that we are bringing into the project are also world-class people. And we have been contracting services like the alteration studies from people that they are academics and that they teach how to do this. So we are using top-class science to try to vector and try to point where to go with the next drill holes. And the
And are
deeper
you
we
seeing
go,
a temperature transition as you go down in a long strike?
yeah. And it's interesting because the grade is increasing. We see differences in the mineralogy as well. And all these things are telling us about what I was mentioning before, how big this thing might be. And you said something interesting about the ounces and the production. We believe we believe that today we have 50 million ounces. Those are the ones that we have there. We
Yep.
believe that if we could drill enough, there might be a chance in the future. These are forward-looking statements, right? There would be a chance in the future that we can find 50 million ounces more on the same place, and this would allow us to collect 100 million ounces in one place. If that's the case in the future, again, these are forward-looking statements, but if that's the case in the future that we have 100 million ounces in one place, that it's a game changer because if you think about most of the deposits in Mexico, in the Argentine Patagonia, and deposits around the world, these have satellite operations.
Yep.
So to get 100 million ounces
You
in
get
one place,
a center to bring everything in from.
yeah, and that consumes you money on the operation, that consumes you money on transportation, that consumes you a lot of resources. So having the 100 million ounces only in one place, that it's a game changer. We so far we have 50 million ounces, and we are trying to target to 100 on one place. Possibly the other ounces will come from the outside, from the exploration that we need to do. That it's as well very well targeted through a lot of scientific methods that we are using in placing out El Kivar.
Well, something we talked about is okay. Another thing that happens, folks, I don't want to get too sciencey on you here, but what gets me really excited is when I see the grades pick up like that and the zone get so thick, and you talk about the temperature is transitioning. What that also can happen, folks, is that the cause of that mineralization can have a geological event that breaks up the rocks around it and makes them more permeable, or we call it dilation zones, okay? So when you see the rocks opening up like that and the juices, we call them the juices flowing like that, wow, that's hugely exciting, Joaquin.
Well, I have to tell you that one of the most exciting things for us during this program, and it was winter in Argentina. That's why we have called it the winter program.
Yeah.
During the winter program that we run in Argentina, one of the most exciting things has been the collection of some surface samples 800 meters away from the existing resource. Those samples came back with very, very high grade. Some of them, they had visible silver. And when I say very high grade, is that some of those samples top the upper detection limit of the instruments of the laboratory. And that top that limit is 20,000 grams per
Thousand
ton.
grams.
That's
Wow.
20 kilograms. So those samples at least have 20 kilograms of silver per ton. The interesting thing of this, Alan, and that's why we got so excited, is that there is visible silver. So this is telling us in scientific terms related to what you just mentioned. When you have so much silver and the silver is visible, it means that there is more silver than the other elements to form minerals. So silver is now on a free manner because the system is oversaturated. The juices are oversaturated. And when these fluids are oversaturated, they might find some permeable rock where they will release all that silver from the fluid. You will have this deposit being formed. So what we need to find now is that volume of rock that has been in contact with these oversaturated fluids. And that's a task that we are also chasing, that it's going to be exploration task. That's why we are trying to put 60% of our capital allocation into exploration, because we see the potential of finding new things out there. And we need to go and address those things. Only 3% of the project has been explored. Only 3% of the surface has been explored.
And I would bet you that that's a small percentage of the alteration zone as well.
Oh
That
yeah. Yes.
alteration footprint is massive.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
This is very,
Well,
very good.
Joaquin, I could talk to you for hours about all this because it's so exciting. The work, every company says they have a great team, folks, and I'm a believer that actions speak louder than words. And I watch how companies go about doing their work and applying science and who they bring in to do that scientific work. And you see the results of that work when they do their drilling, as Joaquin is talking about. And I think this is a spectacular project. I can see the sparkle in your eye there, Joaquin, and you've been very generous with your time. So before I let you go, can we talk about what's pending and what's upcoming in the not too distant future?
Yes, of course. So we have some very few results pending from these 4,000 meters that we drill.
Yeah.
What we have completed up to now is what we call, or we name it, the foundational program of Argenta Silver. It's
Okay.
where we compile all the data, relog information, historical drilling, checked information, did base studies to understand the thing. Now what it's coming in the probably this year and the next 2 to 3 years, it's it's very, very robust exploration programs, very oriented on expanding the resource and finding new deposits. So it's going to be very robust. The pending results from the season that we just finished will come very soon, hopefully. And we are now just about to start. On the 1st of November, we have planned to start the next program, and we are envisioning 12 to 15,000 meters of drilling, and that's going to be during the Argentine summer, which runs in between November and April. And then when we get into the Argentine winter, which is in between April and October, we will be drilling probably 7 to 10,000 meters more. So this is a plan that will be upscaling every time. In the winters, we need to drill a little bit more, a little bit less due to the conditions, but we can work, which is great. So you will see that we will be scaling up every time. What is coming now is that in November, we will start this 15,000 meter program. You will see a constant news flow of news, sorry, a constant flow of news coming out of the drilling and the sampling work that we will be doing.
And how is the cash position? Are you funded for all this?
Yes, we are fully funded, Alan. We have $23 million in the bank,
Wow.
Canadian money. We have $23 million.
And you're using it wisely.
Oh, yes, yes. We are extremely careful because, look, for me, two of the most important things are shareholders and the funds that we have in the company. That's like the blood that runs into your veins. You
Yeah.
cannot let it drain. So you need to take care of it. And these are the funds that will take us up until probably June next year. So until June next year, we are fully cashed out.
Well, and I see a more robust market for silver and silver explorers. And something that I don't think a lot of people really realize is that if we get a big wave of generalist investors that want to be exposed to silver, from silver miners, developers, explorers with important discoveries, there's a very small menu for generalist investors to look at.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is a special project. So I think that puts you in a very good position in a stronger market for silver and for generalist investors starting to look at silver explorers with important discoveries.
Yes, yes, I totally agree, Alan. And I believe that the scarcity of silver will continue. There is a deficit of in between 150 to 200 million ounces in the world. There's
Year
not
after
enough.
year.
Year after year, what people has to understand is how many mines you need to mine completely in that year to fill that gap. So how many LK how many projects as
Well,
us you
based
need
on
to
that
mine legally?
past rule of thumb, if you're looking at 10 years of production at 10 million ounces of gold, you need 20 of those just to make up for the deficit. And folks, there's not 20 of those out there. I live in
No, no.
Mexico. 25% of the silver produced worldwide comes from Mexico. I follow the pipeline like nobody else.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
is not those 20 just to make up for the deficit, let
yeah.
alone if the
Right.
demand increases.
Yeah, and if people stop buying coins tomorrow because they don't like any more silver, that's the deficit will still there because silver has become an industrial element.
See.
So, and that's where the deficit is coming from. It's coming mostly from the deficit that the industry in general it's generating. So we need to focus ourselves on bringing projects online very quickly and working very wisely to cover that deficit.
Well, you got a great story, Joaquin. I'm glad we had this talk because some of this information you can't really glean out of a PowerPoint presentation or the news releases. But I got this thing I call my goosebump detector, and when my goosebumps go off, they've never been wrong actually. So
Well,
I
tell
really
me, tell
like your.
me, tell me which other stocks should I buy then, Alan?
I'll send you an email, Joaquin. You got to get on
Okay,
my
okay.
email list to watch my shows. All right, Joaquin, did you have anything to close with? Any
I
closing
think,
comment?
look, it's going to be 1 year next week for us. For those there watching that are shareholders of the company, I want to thank them a lot because their support is what keep us doing things better and better every day. For those that are not yet shareholders, well, this is a fantastic story. I think that it has a lot to give in the future, and the project is just speaking by itself. We are letting the ground to tell the story. We are just communicating what the ground is telling us.
Well, folks, as always, I try to do my homework and I look for special situations. And I want to close on how significant this project is. You do not find silver projects like this, especially, 500 grams of 43 meters. I'm used to seeing those kind of grades, but in 2 to 5 meter intersections here in Mexico, and those make for great mines. 25% of the silver ever produced worldwide comes from Mexico on these narrow veins, and they've got Mexican grades in thick intersections. So another thing I would reiterate is I believe that silver is going a lot higher. And as it does, it will bring generalist investors to look at the stocks. And when you look at the menu from the majors to the mid tiers to the developers to the explorers with important discoveries, it's a very small audience or a very small menu. And I think as that wave comes in, a company like Argenta will be well recognized. And as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to do your homework, speak with your financial advisors, and take it from there. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.